Hey love bugs, today is Wednesday, August 16th, and I wanted to go ahead and do a different video for you all. I know I talked about it in my past videos, but I wanted to go ahead and give you guys a list of requirements that the Diocese of Fort Worth has for those who are discerning marriage. So if you believe that your vocation is to get married within the Catholic Church, keep watching this video. I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna try to do a quick video of, I know I talk a lot, so I'm gonna try to do a quick video of the requirements because I want you guys to know what all you have to do in order to get married through the Catholic Church. So I do want to say this right before I jump on it. The requirements for the Diocese of Fort Worth are very different from other dioceses. So if you live in New Mexico or if you want to get married in California, just make sure that, or whatever other state or even country, because in Spain, I'm sure their requirements are different than what we have here in the USA. Any states, every state, and actually every diocese is different because we're all one church, yes we are, but we all have very different requirements because of different priests, because of different bishops, because of different archbishops, and so on and so forth. They're very similar, but I'm sure they're very different. So please be very mindful of that. And I also want you guys to be mindful that the requirements change every so often. So if you're watching it right now, it may be different in 6 months, and it may be different in 2018 and 2019. So these are the requirements right now that the Catholic Church has, and I just wanted to give a run through because I feel like sometimes people are like, no, we can't get married, or no, there's so much that you have to do in order to get married through the Catholic Church that makes me not want to get married. Or some people think that, because they live together, that they can't get married, or that they have a child and they can't get married, or one of them is not Catholic, so they can't get married. And so I'm here to kind of evangelize to you all, but as well as just go through the requirements that the Catholic Church has. There are different requirements between those who are living together and those who are not. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a run through of what we had to do in order to get the okay to get married, which actually yesterday, or 2 days ago, today's Wednesday, which actually Monday, they called us and gave us the okay to get married. So if you like to know about the requirements, keep watching. So to start off, I want you guys to know that I am a type A person, and I like to keep everything in order. I try, but I'm not always really successful about it. So what I tried to do is I got this folder, and I just made sure to document everything. I made copies of contracts and just about everything, copies and copies and copies. And if I have the originals, if I'm allowed to keep the originals, I keep the originals. So let me show you guys a little of what I have. So in the first few pages, I'm not very organized in like where they are, but they're all together, so that's what's important. So I have like documents from the church, copies, originals, receipts. I also have my photographer's contract and my DJs, and then like a few things that we'll be needing for the day of, my church bulletin, inspiration, wedding inspiration, that I'll let you guys see. Oh, there was a receipt of my cake lady, from our cake lady, kind of like an agenda, our mariachi contract, our venue contract, and all that good stuff. So if I lose this, I'm screwed. If I lose this, I'd be very, very sad. So anywho, so to get started, first thing you should do once you get engaged, or once you guys start talking about marriage, you guys should go and check out you guys should go to your parish and go to their office and ask them for a list of requirements. So you go to your parish's office and you get a list of what the requirements are. So this is actually what ours looks like. I know right now, It looks really long, but I promise you guys, it's simple things. It's things that you should already have anyways. First thing is, you give your down deposit in order to reserve your date. The second thing is, one of you has to be registered in the parish in order to be able to one of you has to be registered through your parish in order to be able to get married there, because obviously the church is going to want people who are already members, who are already active in their church. So one person has to be registered 6 months prior to getting married at the church. Okay, so then this one's easy. So you have to have your 3 sacraments, which is baptism, your first communion, and your confirmation. 3 simple things that you should already have. I'm going to say should because you should have them. Luckily, Eric and I, this was an easy one for us because we had our 3 sacraments. The only thing that was very difficult was getting those sacraments validated. So for me, it was very easy because I had all 3 sacraments at the same church, at the same parish. So all of mine were easy because I'm getting married at the same parish. So the same priest was able to validate those for me. However, Eric, he was baptized at one parish, which was in Eagle Pass, and then his first communion, his confirmation, he did them in different parishes in Fort Worth. So those were easy. However, the one in Eagle Pass, it was a little worrisome because I was worried because we were like, okay, we have to call and they have to send the paperwork, but then they had to send it twice because the paperwork somehow didn't get here. So point is, we now have them submitted and validated and everything, so we got the okay about those. So 3 sacraments that you have to have: baptism, first communion, and confirmation. The other thing that you have to have is you have to 90 days before your wedding, you have to get your marriage license. So you have to go to, I think I'm a little blurry, I think that's better. So you have to go to your the local office, and you have to apply for a marriage license 90 days before your wedding. Since Eric and I were not married before, we didn't have to submit any divorce papers or anything like that. Okay, so the next, we had to take the first class that we took. We had to take 3 classes. So the classes are Precana, Natural Family Planning, and Fully Engaged. So I'm going to give a brief description of each of them because I don't want to give away too much of them. So Precana, it talks about the wedding in the Bible where Jesus turns the water into wine. Mary asks Jesus to turn the water into wine, and it goes into detail about different, it's just a whole lot in one day. It's a 1-day course, or actually we did the 1-day course, and it was, I believe, like 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. It wasn't too bad. Eric and I enjoyed it. I know when we were there, Eric and I were like, oh, we talked about that in our youth group. Oh, we talked about that here. Oh, we've heard of that. Oh, we've watched that video before. And it was pretty cool because we were like, we actually know what they're talking about. So that's the Precana course. You can sign up for these courses online, or you can contact your local parish in order to register for them, or they'll have to register you for them. The other class I said was Natural Family Planning. So that course is really cool. It, if you didn't know, but now you know, if you didn't know, the Catholic Church is actually against all contraceptives, which means condoms, the birth control pill, the ring, the Nuva ring, any kind of contraceptive. The Catholic Church is against them. So Natural Family Planning is a natural way of teaching Catholics to, how do I say it, to prevent from having a pregnancy, or to carry a pregnancy. Does that make sense? I hope I make sense. But yeah, we do not believe in contraceptives. We do not believe that abortion is right in any form or action, and I believe that. I may get thumbs down for that. I may be ridiculed or mocked or anything like that, but ending a life is not who I am. I'm against abortion, and that's just who I am. If you know me, you know the heart that I carry, and I carry my heart on my sleeve, and I am who I am. I'm not gonna change that ever. And I believe that every baby should have should be given the opportunity to have a life. That was natural family planning. So that teaches you, there's different methods. When you take the class, they show you different methods of to carry a pregnancy or to prevent a pregnancy. So that was a cool class because Eric and I were just like, whoa, we didn't know that. What? We didn't know that. Or like, what? Really? Like, I don't know. Anywho, so that's natural family planning course, Precana, and then the last one was fully engaged. And fully engaged is actually, we had a really good time in fully engaged. Actually, we had a really good time in all classes, but I think fully engaged was a little more interactive. It was pretty cool. We didn't like that they were on Sundays, on Sunday afternoons, because they started on Father's Day and we were like, well, we want to spend time with our parents, like our dads. And or usually what we do after mass on Sundays, we usually go go out to eat, go hang out, go swimming, go do something fun. And we were like, oh, we can't, we have class. Or like one time we went out to eat with family and we're like, they wanted to go to like the park and we were like, oh man, we have to go to class. But we did enjoy the class. The people that gave us the class were really, really sweet. They were very humble, and the lady, oh my gosh, la señora Juanita, she was so sweet. Oh my gosh, she could pray and pray, and it was the most beautiful prayer that I've ever heard. But anywho, so Fully Engaged is a book that they give you. I have it in our kitchen counter. They give you a book and you guys go through a number of questions that you guys should talk about before getting married, which is really interesting because even though Eric and I have been dating for 9.5 years, it's really awesome to know that you guys are either in the same page, or sometimes it brought up conversations that we never really talked about. But luckily Eric and I, and Miss Juanita even said it, or Mrs. Juanita even said it, she was like, there's not really a lot of topics that we have to go through because you guys are really compatible. And Eric and I were like, well, it's been 9 years, so we have to be compatible by now. But anyways, we really enjoyed that class as well. Going on. Okay, so those are the 3 classes that you have to take. You also have to turn in, I mentioned this in one of my other videos, you also, okay, so in Catholic weddings, we have sponsors, also known as padrinos, and so you pick your godparents. The way that we picked our godparents was because it was a couple that we look up to, or a couple that we admire. And so what we did is we actually prayed about it, and we had a list of 3 couples, and we prayed about it, and we were like, you know what, let's go with my uncle and his wife, which is my dad's brother and his wife, because they've been married for so long. They have children my age. And when Eric met them, he was like, oh, your uncle and aunt are so cool and blah, blah, blah. And so we got along with them, or he got along with them really well. They respect and they care. They respect Eric so much. Like, I love the way they talk to him and like, sí, mijo, sí, que no sé qué. And like, they're just really sweet people overall. When I was growing up, I always wanted them to be my godparents because they're my brother's godparents, and I was all like, man, I wish they were my godparents. And now in 2.5 weeks, I'll have that privilege to call them padrino, madrina. So it'd be really cool. It's gonna be really cool. I just love them so much. Eric and I, we look up to them very, very, very much. They're both really wise, and they're both just active in the church, and they're just very sweet, very humble, very Catholic, which is something that I admire. Like, they still go to church retreats. They're always like posting how they're padrinos of this person, or padrinos of these people, and it's just really cool. And I hope to one day be like them, to have, to educate our children like they have, or to love one another like they do. So that's why we asked them to be our godparents. And so about that, so we had to turn in their certificate of when they got married through the Catholic Church. So we had to turn that in, which we did. All these documents should be submitted 6 weeks before the wedding. after that, you have an interview. Okay. After that, you have an interview with the priest, and I can't really give too many questions away of what he said. I am gonna say that you each have to have 2 witnesses. So like for me, I had my best friend and my brother go and be my witnesses, and then Eric had his best friend and his brother. So they went in there, the priest asked them questions, and then they ask us questions, and then that's our interview. One at a time, and yeah, just different questions. I don't want to give too much away, but just know that it has to be someone from your childhood. That's why we chose our brothers, and that's why I chose my best friend, because she's been my best friend for like 13 years or 12 years. I don't want to give my age too much. I'm just kidding. So that's why I picked her, and Eric picked his brother as well, and our best friend, and so on. So there's an interview conducted. So far it's not that much. I know it sounds like a lot, but it's not. So it's your 3 sacraments. Somebody has to be registered for at least 6 months prior to the wedding. You have to turn in your godparents' certificate, marriage certificate, and then you have to take all 3 classes and the interview, which is not too much. They are not a lot. And I think the only other thing that you have to do is the practice for before your wedding, and which is nothing. I mean, it's the practice that you have to do before your wedding, so it's so you can know what you're going to end up doing the day of. I did want to go back and say, if you're Catholic and your significant other is not, do not worry that you and think that you can't get married through the Catholic Church, because you most definitely can. You just have to sign a document saying that you guys are aware of that and that that's okay, and you still have to go to some of the talks, not all of them, just some of them, and he has to accompany you, or you have to accompany them in order to get married through the Catholic Church. If you guys live together, do not think that you cannot get married through the Catholic Church, because you most definitely can. You just have to go through a different process. And the few things that are very different are like the fully engaged course that we took, the questions that they'll ask y'all will be different. The book, oh, I did want to say that, sorry, I kind of missed this part. I kind of jumped a little bit. So when you take fully engaged, what you actually end up doing is you end up doing like a 150 questionnaire survey type of thing. I don't know how long it is. I think it's 150 questions, and it's things like I worry about my mother-in-law being too into my relationship. I worry about my significant other spending too much money, or I think we are both on the same page type of thing, like yes, no, maybe questions, and that you have to answer, and then that's when they match them up and see how compatible you are, and then you guys talk about the questions in the fully engaged course. So I hope I'm making sense there. It's not that bad. I know it looks like a long list. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's really not. It was 7 items, 7 things that you can knock out, just like that, and it's in order to be able to live a longer, happier marriage, and it's just including Christ. It's teaching you to include Christ more into your relationship. So I know 2 weeks into dating, Eric told me that he wanted me to be his wife, and I remember thinking, I was like, okay, well, if I'm his wife, we have to get married through the church. And Eric was like, yeah, that's cool. I mean, I want to get married through the church anyways, because our marriage is gonna last forever. And so that's the way we always pictured it. I've always pictured my wedding to be through the church and not just the court, because I was like, I do not want to get married through the court and that's it. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but for me personally, it's always been getting married through the Catholic Church, in my white dress, and only be with one person for the rest of my life, and live a long, happy marriage, and have tons and tons of children and tons of dogs. have a big family and have lots of dogs, and maybe one day have a farm. And okay, I'm getting too ahead of myself, but that's always been my dream. That's always been my goal, and I'm not saying that it has to be in a certain order or anything like that. No, not at all. I think we all have very different visions, and we are all different people, and we all go through different stages in life. So I hope that you guys have learned a little bit about the requirements that the Diocese of Fort Worth asks for. Like I said, other dioceses may be similar, but make sure to check with your home parish and see what they require in order for you to get married. And this is something really nice. I think that, you know, if you're engaged or if you're thinking about marriage, that this is something that you guys can hopefully reflect on and, you know, get ready for, because I think it's been the most fun part about just being engaged, knowing that Christ wants all this and more for you. It's been wonderful getting to know Eric in a different aspect, and I know sometimes we were like, oh man, there goes our Friday nights because we have to go to this class. But in the end, we were still spending them together, and we were learning, and we were, you know, laughing and everything. So it was still very wonderful. I hope this gives you guys a better understanding of the requirements that the Catholic Church requires here in the in the Diocese of Fort Worth. Again, I am not a religious sister, I am not a religious nun, I am not a priest, I am just a normal person, a normal Catholic that I would like to think. And I just wanted to evangelize to you all what the requirements are for the Catholic Church, and hopefully that one day you'll look into it, and in hopes that you guys will want to get married through the Catholic Church, because after all, to me, it's the most wonderful and the most beautiful, just the most beautiful sacrament that one can receive, because it's like, it's literally, it's Jesus giving you the blessing of your marriage. It's him saying, yes, I believe in your love, and I believe that you two will be together forever. And it's when Jesus comes down into your marriage and he blesses it and he becomes a part of it. So just remember that a relationship is not only two people but three, and that is Jesus, and he is the most important one, and he is meant to be in the middle of you two, because it's like a triangle. The closer you get to the top, which is Jesus, the closer you get to each other. If you guys are down here, like a triangle, if you guys are each in your own little corner, well, you guys are going to be far apart. But once you guys get closer to Jesus, that means you guys get closer to each other. So I hope that makes sense. Let me know if y'all have any questions, and I have no problem answering to you guys. But yeah, I hope you guys look into it and have a happy marriage. And always include Jesus. Remember God first, and then everything else will fall into place. If you'd like to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe to this video. Comment below if you have any questions, or if you guys like for me to talk about anything. I'll be more than happy to. I just need to know what it is that you want to hear me talk about, because I just talk so much. So I hope this video is not as long as I think it's gonna be. Anywho, so I'll catch you love bugs later.